In the spirit of reconciliation, Yellow Ladybugs acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today.
Neuro-affirming ways early childhood educators can support autistic girls. In the previous videos, we've discussed common traits found in autistic girls and how these traits can present in young children. We have met Starla and Iris and analyzed some common autistic characteristics and what their body language is telling us. In this video, we are going to look at neuro-affirming accommodations that can be implemented within the early years environment that can help support autistic girls. Neuro-affirming means being accepting of different types of brains and valuing and accepting unique autistic strengths and challenges. Putting neuro-affirming strategies or accommodations in place is beneficial to the entire class. And with the right supports and accommodations, the barriers that autistic girls face and the struggles they experience in the early childhood setting can be reduced.
Neuroaffirming strategies around transitions. Transitions can be very difficult for autistic girls. Transitions often mean unpredictability and a lack of control, which can result in feelings of anxiety for autistic girls. Even smaller transitions, like changing from one activity to another, can be stressful. Although young autistic girls may always struggle with the idea of change, there are strategies that can be implemented within the early education setting that will help make all of these transitions that happen throughout the day a little bit easier. Drop off and pick up time. Leaving home and arriving at childcare or kinder is a big transition. To make this process easier for autistic girls, the following adjustments can be made. Allowing for later drop-off or pick-up times for girls who struggle with these transitions. The hustle and bustle of drop-off and pick-up times can be extremely stress-inducing for autistic children. By allowing them to come later and leave earlier when the other children are not trying to do the same, it may aid with these transitions. Allowing parents to stay longer at the centre. When an autistic child feels safe, they will be more regulated. Allowing parents to stay with their children until they are calm may be beneficial. Using visual aids and social stories. Visual aids allow a young child to go back to the information that they need when they need it. Schedules, using pictures, can help young autistic girls feel secure in what their day is going to look like. Other visual aids may also be beneficial, including clocks and timers, though note that for some highly anxious girls, timers can cause even more stress, so a more indirect countdown method may be required, providing verbal and visual cues prior to any transition so that children can finish what they are doing and mentally prepare for the change. When possible, inform parents in advance if you know there will be a change in the normal routine, for example, a different educator for the day. Parents can be instrumental in helping their children adapt to transitions, and they can help by preparing their children while at home for what is to come. Provide a quiet and low sensory safe space where autistic girls can go to decompress if they are feeling anxious or frustrated with a change. Many autistic girls always find transitions difficult. Assure children that their feelings are valid and that you are there to help them and support them.
Neuro-affirming accommodations for sensory overwhelm. Autistic girls will all have varying sensory needs and will require different accommodations. Here are some of the accommodations that can be implemented within the early learning classroom that can help support the sensory needs of young autistic girls. Many autistic girls benefit from using noise canceling or noise reducing headphones. This can be a simple and effective measure to help reduce sensory overload. Encouraging young children to use them when they need them may help prevent overwhelm that can happen from within a noisy environment. Provide regular movement breaks. For a child to learn, they need to be regulated. Movement plays a huge role in how autistic children keep themselves regulated. Movement breaks should be offered to autistic girls, and in fact, all children, to assist with the regulation throughout the day. Many autistic girls will stim as a means of communication, with stims showing excitement, anxiousness, fear, all the above. Stimming is the body's way to help regulate emotions. Therefore, it is important to not stop your autistic children from stimming, providing that the stim is not hurting themselves or others. Allowing autistic girls to have access to stimming tools, weighted toys, lap blankets, and wobble chairs may also help them stay regulated. Many autistic girls have sensory sensitivities to clothing and may need a more flexible approach towards uniforms, required shoes, or other clothing items a child needs to wear, for example, specific socks, hats, or an art smock. Communicating with parents can assist in coming up with solutions that are suitable for all. Have a flexible food policy. Although we all want to see every child eating healthy and have a balanced diet, many autistic girls are sensory eaters, and food can be a particular struggle for them. Allow the child and the parent to bring the foods that they will eat free of shame. Fed is best. Having a calm corner with a soft place to sit, some books, stimming toys, and plushies can be very helpful to assist young autistic girls to stay regulated. And remember that some autistic girls will be sensory seekers, while some are sensory avoiders. What works for one autistic child may not work for another.
Neuroaffirming accommodations around social communication. Autistic girls often have different styles of communicating compared to their neurotypical peers. The following are neuroaffirming social communication supports that benefit autistic girls in the early years environment. Do not force eye contact. In our neurotypical society, maintaining eye contact during a conversation is seen as a sign that a person is engaged and listening, and not maintaining eye contact during a conversation is often seen as rude. For many autistic people, eye contact can be uncomfortable, and for some, it can cause physical pain and overload. Do not try to force or teach young autistic girls to make eye contact. Their lack of eye contact may in fact mean that they are trying to focus on what you are saying. Many autistic girls will need additional processing time. If you ask them a question or ask them to do something, do not expect an immediate response. This can take a few extra seconds, minutes, or sometimes even days. Be direct. Many autistic girls can struggle with non-verbal forms of communication. It is therefore recommended that the more direct you can be with your instructions, the better. Breaking down big tasks to more manageable, smaller tasks often help autistic girls. Autistic children can get very overwhelmed with tasks with multiple steps. Simplifying tasks into their smaller parts will help them to follow along. Make learning activities visual and with clear context. This will help autistic girls to follow along and know what is expected of them.
Neuroaffirming approaches to autistic play. How a child plays is often one of the first indicators to parents and caregivers that a child is different to their peers. One of the most powerful ways to support autistic girls in early childhood is to normalize that all play is okay. As mentioned in previous videos, some autistic girls like to play in a big group. Others are content playing alone. Some children prefer to be in charge, while others follow along with what is happening. What we as carers and educators need to do is accept and support whatever their play styles are, while offering understanding and acceptance of how others choose to play as well. In relation to imaginative play, play does not have to make sense to you as an educator. A child will play in the way that makes sense for them. Like the difference between a Samsung and an iPhone, autism is simply a different operating system. It is our job to encourage young autistic girls that they are perfect just the way that they are and that they do not need to change in order to meet neurotypical standards. If a child is happy and content playing with a toy in a particular way, then that is okay. Encouraging learning by working with an autistic girl's special interests can also be a useful strategy. If you have a child who has a passion for horses, include that passion into different activities. This will encourage them to participate and validates their interest without requiring that they change who they are.
Other neuroaffirming strategies that can support autistic girls within the early learning environment. 1. Do not force autistic girls to participate in set activities. Although these activities can be encouraged, some autistic children may find some activities within the early learning environment overwhelming and may choose not to participate. Let them know that this is okay and have an alternative activity, like reading a book quietly in the book corner, that they are able to do instead. Allow for the use of comfort objects in the early childhood setting when they are needed. Many autistic girls may need regular access to these items in order to feel calm and regulated. Do not use behavior or reward charts. These tend to focus on trying to change external behavior. Instead, look beneath the surface to understand what the behavior is signaling or communicating. There is likely to be an unmet need. Allow autistic girls to settle into the early learning environment at their own pace. Forcing children to say hello or goodbye can increase their anxiety during transition times. Allow autistic girls to choose social situations that they are comfortable with. By giving them autonomy, they can learn to work out what works best for them and what they enjoy. Sally Baker is an early learning educator and autism advocate.
Providing accommodations for autistic children requires teachers and educators to build upon strong and meaningful relationships to understand their needs and interests, as every autistic child has different needs. It is important to consider strength-based approaches when making accommodations. Get rid of the mentality that we need to fix the child and instead think about how we can guide and support their needs for equal opportunities in education and care. Create sensory spaces or calm zones where children can have a place to control their own stimuli in moments of overwhelm. Use timers and visual timetables to support changes in routine and transitions throughout the day. Use direct and logical instructions or explanations. Stay away from vague directions to eliminate any confusion. Use open-ended play experiences such as art or construction for children to implement their ideas with no limits. As autistic children see the world differently, we need to foster their ways of thinking without limitations. Most importantly, also see autistic children as capable learners. Being autistic does not mean that they cannot learn, act, or understand the same as others. If they are nonverbal, they can still understand everything you say. If they have poor fine motor skills, they can still learn how to use scissors or draw. If they do not listen to instructions about dangerous behavior, explain it to them in a way that they will understand. Building relationships with families is one of the most used and recognised practices in early childhood education, and it is even more important for autistic children. Being able to openly communicate with parents about concerns and achievements or building strong connections will always work in the benefit of the child.
In this video, we looked at some neuroaffirming strategies that can support autistic girls in their early learning and classroom. Please join us for the final video where we will explore neuroaffirming strategies to support young autistic girls as they move out of the early years setting and into the school environment.